Hello, dear fans, friends, and subscribers. Welcome to the cricket show, the Cricket Happening show, with your host Ram today. And on this Sunday's Cricket Happening show, going to look at two matches. One is the Australia versus New Zealand. Yesterday was the second day's play after Brendan McCullum's heroics on the first day. And well, Australia definitely inching towards the lead here. They are just 7 runs short of actually, but what was more important as far as the Australia's reply of 363 for 4 was concerned on the second day of the first test here at Hagley Oval in Christchurch was the record partnership that happened between Stephen Smith, who went on to century number 14 in his test career, and Joe Burns getting his first overseas century. This was his third test century and also his first overseas century, and that would have been pretty refreshing for him. And Joe Burns has already said that this was his best century to date, and what a knock. In fact, this is also the highest score by an Australian player in New Zealand in test matches, and that belongs to Joe Burns, who actually made a very, very impressive 170 runs, and Stephen Smith went on to make 138. And as far as today's match was concerned, it was the final match of the tour as far as England were concerned. And let me tell you, South Africa definitely suffered the reverses in the test matches, but they have come back very, very strongly in both the one-dayers and the T20s. And in the T20s, they absolutely, in this T20 match which was played here at the new Wanderers Stadium in Johannesburg, they actually crushed the South African bowlers to pulp, with A.B. de Villiers slamming the fastest half century by a South African in T20 cricket when he hit a half century of just 21 balls, and then it was a spectacular collapse to England. England were sailing on smoothly, and the cricket commentators were actually talking about probably a score of in excess of over 200, and then suddenly tragedy went and befell the Englishman. As the Englishman, I would say, committed harakiri, as we call it in cricket, and that's what they did. 157 for 3 at one stage in the 17th over, and look at the net and look at the final innings finish for England. England were bowled off for 171. So that means in a space of just 14 runs, England spectacularly collapsing by losing 7 wickets for 14 runs. And for South Africa, well, it was absolutely a sort of a blitzkrieg innings coming in from A.B. de Villiers, 71 of just 29 balls, with 6 fours and an equal amount of sixes, and Hashim Amla playing with finesse, touch, and beautiful stroke play as he got his highest score in T20 cricket, finishing on an unbeaten 69 of just 38 deliveries, 8 fours and 3 sixes. Well, I'll come back to that. And also, while I'm doing this cricket happening show, there is one news that I can really share with you, and that is to say that after Quetta Gladiators, who actually made it to the final, today there was a match which was played between Islamabad United and Peshawar Zalmi. And Peshawar Zalmi were defeated today by 50 runs by Islamabad United. So Islamabad United has become the next team, is the first team to win. And they are the ones who have actually, now Peshawar had 2 chances. In fact, Islamabad has made it to the finals. So the final is on 23rd of February, and that is going to happen. This, the inaugural Pakistan Super League, and the finals is going to be between the Quetta Gladiators versus the Islamabad United team, as they beat Peshawar Zalmi today by 50 runs. We'll come back to that all later. But first, let's go to the Hagley Oval in Christchurch and begin proceedings by looking at what really happened at the Hagley Oval yesterday. That's on the second day of this final test match. Well, it all started with as you know, they had already lost David Warner the previous day. We saw Joe Burns and Usman Khawaja resume their innings. And Usman Khawaja, I have to tell you that the batting was was not so easy. We saw that Trent Boult was really getting the ball to talk, and he was bowling some testing deliveries to Usman Khawaja, not giving him any chance to actually go and play his favorite stroke through the legs, which he did it in the first innings. And we saw there was a definite plan there, and Trent Boult especially was really testing Usman Khawaja outside the off stump and in and around the off stump, and he was making it very difficult for Usman Khawaja to play the strokes, because he was bowling such a line that Usman Khawaja had to actually play him back and couldn't really get his arms flicking in a very easy manner. And we definitely saw that plan definitely worked, as finally Usman Khawaja was really tested, according to me, by Trent Boult on and around the off stump. Finally succumbed when Usman Khawaja nicked the delivery, an away-going delivery from Trent Boult, and it went into the waiting hands of McCullum in the slips. And that was the result for some penetrative bowling shown by Trent Boult yesterday, as Usman Khawaja walked back to the pavilion after making 24 with 4 boundaries. So that was the first wicket to go, as Australia scored read 67 for 2. And after that, it was Stephen Smith who came in and joined Joe Burns. Joe Burns was looking pretty solid at the crease. He's one player who doesn't play any strokes in the air. We definitely saw he was playing the ball very well along the carpet, and Stephen Smith joined him. Stephen Smith just took his time to settle, and then finally Stephen Smith got into his a wide variety of strokes, as he normally does, with his drives and his shuffle and the way he actually plays the deliveries. Joe Burns, well, his driving down the ground was impeccable, and he was also pretty strong on the flick too. So basically this partnership kept on frustrating, and I thought the pitch was also starting to play a bit easy than the first day. The liveliness in the pitch had already disappeared, and we saw that Stephen Smith and Joe Burns very nicely settled into some nice rhythm as far as batting was concerned, as they started playing some very good strokes, and also interspersed with some very solid defense, as the score really started moving along, with frustrating the Kiwis by not offering them wickets in the next session, and slowly but surely the innings really started growing very nicely, as the score went on to 356, and thus a 289 runs partnership was created between Joe Burns, who actually got his first overseas test done. Eventually his score was 170 with 24. Also, let me also tell you about Stephen Smith, that Stephen Smith definitely has problems with Neil Wagner, the aggressive bowler, who according to me was the best bowler today, but he definitely really rattled Stephen Smith by hitting him on the helmet, and Stephen Smith had to take a cover a lot when Neil Wagner was bowling, well, it all went on, and Stephen Smith but gutted it out, didn't want to go back, and finally we saw what really came through. It really came up well, as he brought up his 14th test century of his career, as he made 138 with 17 fours, and it was only right that the wickets after the 289 run partnership, which is also the highest partnership, I'm told, in New Zealand, and finally we saw it was Neil Wagner who picked up the wickets in identical circumstances by getting Joe Burns caught by Guptill for 170 with 20 boundaries, and Stephen Smith out for 138 with 17 boundaries. And finally, as the day came to a close, Australia closed the innings on the second day of the final test here at Hagley Oval in Christchurch at 363 for 4, and Wojcicki was not out on 2. Nathan Lyon, the night watchman who had come in, was not out on 4. And that was the story of the day as far as the Australians were concerned. So Australia definitely looking good. In fact, their primary goal would be to amass as much runs as possible today, to definitely take a very handy lead against New Zealand, and also they would probably also be eyeing that they have an opportunity here to actually win this test series too. I mean, in the sense they could win it, like they could make a clean sweep as far as the bowling was concerned. Tim Saudi 22-4, 71 none. Trent Bolt bowled penetratively in the morning, especially to Usman Khwaja. 24 overs, 5 maidens, 85 runs and 2 wickets. Matt Henry 27 overs, 6 maidens, none for 88. We also saw Matt Henry today bowling off a short run up at times, trying to really adjust his lengths there. Anderson 12 overs, 1 maiden, none for 32. Neil Wagner to me was the pick of the bowlers. Really gave something to the Australian batting to think about there. 20 overs, 4 maidens, 263, and Kate Williamson 5 overs, no maiden, none for 11. So that was the story of the day as far as the second day's play was concerned. Probably we are another 1 hour away from play getting started here at the Hagley Oval in Christchurch on the third day of this final test match. Now let's go on to the exciting match that happened. As I said, today was the last day of the stay of England in South Africa, as this was going to culminate the England tour of South Africa, and this was the final T20 match, which was played at the New Wanderers Stadium here in Johannesburg, and the toss was won by the Proteas, as Proteas decided that they would put the Englishmen into bat, and the Englishmen, well, Jason Roy and Alex Hales, the openers, started off in a very quiet fashion. They were pretty sedate, one could say, with Kagiso Rabada and Abbott really attacking the stumps, and Jason Roy and Hales started to bide their time. But when after that we saw Rabada getting the ball to pitch on the off stump and uprooting the off stump of Jason Roy for 9, he was gone for 9 of 15 deliveries. After that, Joe Root came in, and Joe Root immediately signaled his intentions of being really aggressive as he first drove it for a beautiful boundary. Alex Hales was at the other end, and then there was a serious misunderstanding that happened between Alex Hales and Joe Root, which probably, I want to say, is probably due to the cacophony in the ground when Imran Tahir, who normally makes a lot of sound there, probably they couldn't actually hear each other's calling. It resulted in Alex Hales being run out for 16 of as many balls with 1 set. So that made it 6. In fact, Hales was there, but Joe Root was the one who had already stroked the ball beautifully to score 34 of just 17 deliveries, 4 fours and 2 sixes. And then Alex Hales was also out, as I said, run out for 16 with a mix-up between him and Morgan. And then Morgan and Butler absolutely started slamming. I mean, they really, from a score when 61 for 3 was the score for England, in the 8th over, things were totally transformed when Josh Butler and Morgan were in the middle, as suddenly runs started to cascade from the blade of both the batsmen. As the innings really went into top gear here, one could say, because we saw that in 9 overs, 96 runs were scored, and it was some clean hitting, one thought. Morgan was hitting it clean as a whistle. Butler was simply excellent, one could say, because the way he used to pick up the line, the ball on the offside and put it over the cow corner was something joy to behold. And as I said, Morgan and Butler was really making batting look pretty easy, and I'm sure especially David Weiss was really coming under the pump. He was slammed for 40 runs of his 3 overs, and definitely there was something for the South African captain to think as to what would be his next move. And things started happening, and suddenly, as I said, runs were coming right, left and center, and the score was in 157 at that stage, and definitely the cricket commentators were really talking about a score in excess of 200, which was absolutely justified with the way Butler and Morgan was going. And look at what happened afterwards. Suddenly, things which were going on at a at a great speed here suddenly started plummeting. It all started with Butler's wicket. The score, let me also tell you once more, laying more emphasis on this, the score was 157 for 3 when Butler and Morgan were in the middle, and we were in the 17th over. 17th over, 3 balls were bowled, 16.3 overs to be precise, 16.2 overs to be precise, and then the third ball of the 17th over started the real slide for the Englishmen, as the Englishmen collapsed from a score of 157 for 3, losing 7 wickets for just 14 runs and being all out of 171. It all started with the first wicket, and that was of Josh Butler. Kyle Abbott was the bowler as Josh Butler tried to play an airy stroke, and he was caught in the fence by du Plessis, but not before rendering a lot of damage to the South African bowlers, making 54 just 28 deliveries with 4 fours and 4 beautiful sixes. And then once Butler was gone, there was 157 for 4. At the same score, Morgan was dismissed. Morgan and Ben Stokes got into a sort of a real misunderstanding between the wickets, which resulted in Morgan being run out by Abbott for 38 of 23 balls, and Morgan did not hit a single boundary. He dealt only in sixes. He hit 4 sixes, four very enormous sixes in his knock of 38. And after that, a real precision started. It was first Ben Stokes, caught and bowled by Morris for 1 of 3 balls. Billings was gone, caught Amla, bowled Abbott for 5. Moeen Ali second, caught Duni, bowled Morris for 1. Jordan was caught du Plessis, bowled Abbott for 1. And Adil Rashid had his stumps cartwheeling as the England innings came to an end. And what a sorry sight, from 157 for 3, and they were dictating proceedings to the South African, dictating proceedings in this particular match. They lost 7 wickets in the space of 14 runs to be all out of 171. They couldn't even complete the whole quota of 20 overs. As far as the bowling was concerned, Kaliso Rabada, 3.4 overs, no more than 28 runs and 2 wickets. Abbott 4 overs, 3 for 26, bowled well. Morris 4 overs, 2 for 33. David Rees was taken to the cleaners today, 3 overs, slammed for 40 runs without any wicket to show. Imran Tahir once again showing what an improved bowler and what a good thinking bowler he has become now, and that is very good news for South Africa, according to me, when Imran Tahir comes to India to actually bowl to the opposition for the World Cup, as Imran Tahir bowled superbly. 4 overs, 1 for 25 for Imran Tahir, and Duni bowled 1 over, which went for 16 runs. Now it was the turn for South Africa to chase 172 for victory in 20 overs. Walked in the openers, AB de Villiers and Amla. And right from the first over, it had started. Hopefully was the bowler, and AB de Villiers make sure that he started. He actually hit him for 16 runs of that first over, hitting a 6, and the intentions were very clear that South Africa were not going to give an inch here, and they were going to go all out against the Englishmen. No doubt about it. And suddenly we saw that each and every bowler who bowled for England suffered. First it was Copley, then it was the turn for Ben Stokes. Jordan was absolutely smashed by AB de Villiers. Rashid was the only bowler who could get a sort of a handle of this South African innings. Moeen Ali went for 25-3. But AB de Villiers was simply electric. He was really picking up, and AB de Villiers, he manufactures strokes out of nothing, and that's what he is precisely doing. And we all know that AB de Villiers, this has been his happy hunting ground, and one would remember that he got his fastest century in this form of the game at the Wanderers in Johannesburg against the West Indies. And today he broke his own record as AB de Villiers went on to slam a 50 of just 21 deliveries. And Hashim Amla at the other end, he was different. His stroke making, his stroke selection was different, but it was full of finesse, full of touch, full of grace, and full of real real beauty as he started playing strokes with absolute precision. We could see his wrists roll beautifully over the ball as a ball spread across the carpet, and finally we saw they'd done so much damage that in the 7th over, AB de Villiers and Hashim Amla had absolutely demoralized the England team to bring up the 100, get to the 100 mark in the 7th over. Such was the ferocity of the hitting from AB de Villiers and the stroke making of Hashim Amla as the score went on to 100 in the 7th over. And in the 9th over was the time when finally England would have heaved a sigh of relief as they finally managed to get and stop AB de Villiers as he was caught by a root of the bowling of Rashid, but not before absolutely smacking them all across the park, and he was on for 71 of just 29 deliveries, 6 fours and 6 sixes, hit with tremendous power. And then finally we saw Hashim Amla was really getting into that real run making mode as du Plessis joined him, and du Plessis just played around Hashim Amla, and it was all over. South Africa finishing off the target in the 15th over, with Hashim Amla registering his highest score in T20 cricket, unbeaten 69 of just 38 deliveries, 8 fours and 3 sixes. Du Plessis was not out on 22 of 21 deliveries, 2 fours, match over, and England and thus England ended the tour of South Africa, and definitely South Africa have sent back England to really ponder on something for the T20 World Cup. As far as the bowling was concerned, as I said, Topley was dismissed for 32 of his 2 overs. Ben Stokes 3 overs went for 32, but Jordan was the one who was absolutely smacked right, left and centre as he leaked in 16 balls he leaks 48 runs. And Adil Rashid, as I said, was the only one to have a handle of the South African batsman. 4 overs, 1 for 30. Moeen Ali, 3 overs, none for 25. And thus the T20 series ended with South Africa taking it 2-0. Player of the match went to AB de Villiers of South Africa, and the player of the series went to Imran Tahir. And Imran Tahir will be very happy with that effort. As I said, it's a refreshing news that Imran Tahir is really hitting his straps here, and in right time to actually enter the T20 World Cup in India, which starts on the 8th of March. Also, just talking about this tour, England finally ended their South African tour. I'm sure they would have been very happy. But definitely I thought South Africa, after suffering the reverses in the test matches, came back real hard by dismissing England in both the formats of the game. First in the one-day internationals 3-2, which was a very tight contest, and then in the T20 series totally dominating and getting a 2-0 victory. So congratulations to the South Africans, and South Africans will be absolutely buoyed up by the fact that they have the T20 World Cup coming up in India in the month of March. And what better situation than beating England and keeping their confidence high. Well, so congratulations to South Africa once again. Going out of this particular cricket show now, I'm going to leave you with the live cricket update. Not a live cricket update. This is the cricket update coming in from the Pakistan Super League. Today was the third qualifying final, which was played between Islamabad United and Peshawar Zalmi. And it was the Islamabad United who booked their ticket into the finals with the Quetta Gladiators, as Islamabad United making 176 for 3. In fact, today there was a very good performance that I would like to talk about. Peshawar Zalmi lost the match by 50 runs, and Islamabad United, look at that knock of Shahjeel Hussain. This was simply electric stuff play from Shahjeel Khan of Islamabad United. He was the man of the match, no doubt about it. A man who smashed 117 runs of just 62 deliveries with 12 fours and 8 sixes. He went after everybody. He really put them over the stands time and again with this short selection. And what a knock. In a 2020 match, if you can score a century, you're really quite a player there. Shahjeel Khan, 117 run out of 62 balls, 12 fours and 8 sixes, really putting a stamp on this Islamabad United innings. Dwayne Smith was out for 19, Brad Haddon was out for naught, Khalid Latif not out 28 of 21 balls, 3 fours, Russell not out naught, and Islamabad United putting up a winning score of 176 on the board for 3 wickets of the 20 overs. And then Peshawar Zalmi, in reply, trying to give it the final thrust was given by Shahid Afridi, the captain, but he tried his best, but he was out in the final over, and not the final over, in the 18th over, and thus the hopes started to dim for the Peshawar Zalmi. As if you look at the card there, the Peshawar Zalmi innings, there were only 2 people who actually reached double figures. Top of the order, Kamran Akmal being very severe on the bowlers, on the Islamabad United bowlers, making 45, 32 balls, 5 fours and 2 sixes. And Shahid Afridi in the centre, making 38 of 17 deliveries with 2 fours and 4 sixes. And if you look at the other players, David Marlon out for 7, Mohammad Hafiz out for 8, DJ Hodge, Brad Hodge out for 5, Darren Sammy out for 9. It was a powerful batting lineup, and they couldn't even muster double figures today. Shahid Yusuf was out for 4, Wahab Riyaz for 1, Hassan Ali for 1, Mohammad Asghar for 0, and the match was over. And Imran Khalid was the one who picked up 4 wickets for 20 runs. And Shahjil Khan of Islamabad United, without a shadow of doubt, took the Man of the Match award. And now, as I said, on 23rd of February in this inaugural Pakistan Super League, we would be seeing Quetta Gladiators taking on the Islamabad United in the finals of the PSL 2016. Well, dear fans, friends, and subscribers, I have really held my breath here and completed this cricket happening show when there's nothing else to really talk on. I'll be fresh and ready to go with you all when I resume my cricket happening show tomorrow